and ancient carvings.
Hello and a warm Good Friday to everyone, and welcome to First Post America. I'm Eric Ham, coming to you live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. And over the next few minutes, we'll take you from the United States and around the world, covering all the top stories of the day. But before that, here's a look at the latest headlines. Secretary of State Marco Rubio warns the United States will abandon its efforts within days and move on if no progress is made toward a ceasefire in the Russia-Ukraine war. Israel launches fresh strikes, killing a family of 10 in the southern Gaza Strip as Hamas formally rejects its latest offer of a partial ceasefire. Washington introduces new port fees for Chinese-built and operated ships to boost the domestic shipbuilding industry and curb Beijing's dominance in the sector. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi speaks with tech billionaire Elon Musk over a phone call, focusing on deepening technological and innovation-driven collaborations with the United States. And Uganda plans to bring a new law allowing military tribunals to prosecute civilians for certain crimes, even though the practice was banned by the Supreme Court in January. We begin in the Middle East, where the U.S. military launched airstrikes on an oil port in Yemen on Thursday, killing nearly 75 people and injuring hundreds more. The fresh round of strikes are one of the deadliest since Washington escalated its military campaign against the Houthis just last month. Washington says the strikes were carried out on the Ras Isa fuel port located in the Houthis Governorate along the west coast of Yemen on the Red Sea. The port hosts an oil pipeline crucial to the country's infrastructure, and most of Yemen's imports and its humanitarian aid also pass through this port. The United States says the air attack was aimed at cutting off revenues to the Iran-backed Houthis, as the port is reportedly their source of illicit profits.
The objective of these strikes was to degrade the economic source of power of the Houthis, who continue to exploit and bring great pain upon their fellow countrymen. This strike was not intended to harm the people of Yemen, who rightly want to throw off the yoke of Houthi subjugation and live peacefully.
Now, according to Houthi-run media network, all those killed in the strikes were workers at the port. And reports say the air raid drew widespread criticism across Yemen due to the civilian deaths and the strategic importance of the port. The U.S. also conducted overnight strikes earlier this week, killing at least 7 in the west of the capital, Sana'a. And the ongoing U.S. strikes have now triggered protests in Yemen, with thousands of protesters taking to the streets in Sana'a last week.
The Yemeni people took to the streets today to deliver a message to the world that the aims of the American and Israeli enemies by their aggression against the Yemeni people to terrify, scare and subjugate the Yemenis have failed and will fail. These Yemeni people took to the streets in millions to tell the arrogant in this world that we don't break and we don't lose because we have a relationship with God. We rely on God and gain our strength from God. Therefore, no tyrant power in the world can conquer them because they get their strength, confidence and help from God.
Now, since March 15th, the U.S. military has struck oil refineries, airports, and weapon sites in its near-daily strikes attacking Houthis across Yemen. President Donald Trump has vowed to use overwhelming force to paralyze the Iranian proxy group and stop them from targeting shipping in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden.
Going to stop the Houthis, which were making tremendous, they like shooting ships down and out of the water, sinking ships. They get a kick out of it, but they're not getting such a kick out of it now, are they?
Meanwhile, the Houthis, who are acting in support of Hamas in Gaza, have retaliated with drone attacks on American warships and missile attacks on Israel, none of which have caused major damage but risk a wider regional war. And now shifting focus to the United States, where a deadly shooting took place at Florida State University in Tallahassee on Thursday, leaving 2 people dead and 6 others injured. The alleged gunman, a 20-year-old Phoenix Ikner, a student at FSU, opened fire near the Student Union building around lunchtime. Authorities said the 2 deceased were adult males who were not students, and 5 of the injured suffered gunshot wounds.
At approximately 11:50 a.m. Thursday, April 17th, a gunman opened fire on the main campus of Florida State University in Tallahassee, shooting multiple individuals in the vicinity of the Student Union building. 2 victims are deceased, and 5 individuals have been transported to a local hospital with gunshot wounds.
The shooting caused chaos on campus as students and faculty received alerts to shelter in place. Witnesses reported hearing multiple rounds of gunfire and seeing people running from the Student Union.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. What the hell?
I was looking at my phone while I was walking, and I hear a crack. I immediately knew this to be a gunshot. And as soon as I heard that, obviously, look up, it got my attention. There was a brief pause, and then I hear about 5 to 6 and 6 to 8, a handful of follow-up shots in quick succession.
Police responded quickly to the incident after receiving reports of an active shooter, and officers confronted the suspect who refused to surrender. Ikner was then shot by the responding officers and taken into custody. Police were also informed that the suspect is the son of Jessica Ikner, a veteran Leon County Sheriff's deputy and school resource officer. And the weapon used in the attack was identified as her former service handgun, which she had legally purchased from the department after the force upgraded its weapons.
The shooter is 20-year-old Phoenix Ikner. And he's the son of a Leon County Sheriff deputy. Our Deputy Ikner has been with the Leon County Sheriff's Office for over 18 years. Unfortunately, her son had access to one of her weapons, and that was one of the weapons that was found at the scene. And we will continue that investigation into how that weapon was used and what other weapons perhaps he may have had access to.
President Donald Trump, who was briefed on the shooting before a meeting at the White House, called the incident a horrible thing, but reiterated his strong support for the Second Amendment.
Well, I'm going to have to look. I'm a big advocate of the Second Amendment. I have been from the beginning. I protected it, and these things are terrible. But the gun doesn't do the shooting. The people do. It's a phrase that's used probably too often. I will tell you that it's a shame. I'm just hearing about it now.
The incident marks the second shooting at Florida State University in just over a decade. Back in 2014, a graduate opened fire at the university library, wounding 3 people before being fatally shot by police. With at least 81 mass shootings reported in the United States so far this year, the latest tragedy adds to a growing list of campus shootings that have left communities shaken and reignited debates around gun safety. And staying in the United States, more than 130 students from foreign countries have joined a federal lawsuit against the Trump administration. The lawsuit accuses the administration of unlawfully revoking visas of international students, jeopardizing their legal status in the country. Students have alleged that the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, suddenly and illegally removed them from the government database, putting them at risk of arrest and deportation. The original lawsuit filed in Georgia last week includes the cases of 133 foreign nationals from India, China, Colombia, Mexico, Japan, and other nations. The complaint mentions Attorney General Pam Bondi, Homeland Security Director Kristi Noem, and ICE Director Todd Lyons as defendants. The abrupt cancellation of foreign student visas came as President Donald Trump pursues stricter border policies. And this year, the federal government has revoked the visas of at least 1,000 overseas students at more than 130 schools as part of its crackdown on immigration and anti-Semitism. Now, this has prompted other students across campuses to find out if and why their visas have been revoked for little to no reason. The Georgia lawsuit argues that the Trump administration lacks justification as to why the visas of these foreign students were in fact revoked. Notably, visas can be canceled for several reasons. However, colleges say some students were singled out over minor offenses like traffic violations and shoplifting. Experts say the lack of clarity over what is leading to visa revocations can create a sense of fear among students.
The very public actions that are being taken by the Immigration and Customs Enforcement and the Department of Homeland Security around some of these students, where they are removing these students from their homes or from their streets. That's not usually done unless there is a security issue when a student visa is revoked. The threat of this very quick removal is something that's new.
Some high-profile cases, including the detention of Columbia University graduate student Mahmoud Khalil, who was a legal permanent U.S. citizen through a green card, and the White House argued that it should be allowed to deport foreign nationals involved in pro-Palestinian activism.
Examine Marco Rubio and say, what are you talking about? This guy has never been convicted of a crime, never been charged with a crime, very peaceful person. His ideas are that threatening to the United States? And that's the position of the United States government, that Mahmoud Khalil's ideas are so horrible. His ideas that there should be a Palestinian state, his ideas that the United States is contributing to genocide in Gaza by the Israeli government.
On Wednesday, President Trump also threatened Harvard University if it doesn't meet the demands of the federal government. Such threats and actions are only expected to grow a sense of anxiety among foreign students who might reconsider pursuing higher education in the United States. Washington is securing its land, seas, and skies like never before, but it seems like Space 2 is on President Donald Trump's list. His ambitious Golden Dome missile defense shield plan is moving forward, and standing firm beside him is his billionaire buddy Elon Musk, as SpaceX leads the race to build America's critical satellite network. But Pentagon insiders do not seem very pleased. In fact, many have raised an eyebrow over Elon Musk's subscription-based model for satellite access, which is at the core of President Trump's mega shield plan. Our next report reveals how this high-stakes battle is unfolding behind closed doors.
A new space race is quietly heating up within the United States. Not to land on the moon, but to defend its land and its people. President Donald Trump's ambitious Golden Dome is America's boldest defense gamble yet. A missile shield in the Earth's orbit, watching the skies day and night. And at the heart of it stands Trump's billionaire buddy Elon Musk. His company SpaceX has teamed up with Palantir and drone maker Injuring, and together they are leading the charge on this multi-billion-dollar project. 6 sources close to the plan revealed the inside story. Trump's January executive order labeled missile attacks the top threat. Now, even though his plan borrows its name and concept from Israel's Iron Dome, this one will stretch not just over the US but across the globe into the cold vacuum of space. The system is split into 2 powerful layers. First, up to 1,000 satellites will orbit the Earth, and their mission is to sense, track and follow enemy missiles. Then comes the second layer, 200 attack satellites, armed and deadly, fitted with missiles or lasers. They will shoot threats from the sky. At the moment, SpaceX is focused on the first stage, which is called the custody layer. Its satellites would track missiles, calculating if they threaten US soil. The preliminary cost for this satellite web is expected to be between $6 and $10 billion. But with hundreds of operational spy satellites already in orbit, SpaceX holds a crucial advantage, as many could be repurposed, saving time and money. But now comes the twist. SpaceX has also proposed a subscription model instead of selling the system. They plan rent to access it, meaning the government would pay for the use but will never own it. Even though it's fast and clever, it is equally controversial. Pentagon insiders worry this could lock them into private pricing, because what would start as a shortcut could turn into a costly trap. Meanwhile, interest in the Golden Dome project is massive. Over 180 companies have thrown in their names. But the Pentagon's deadline is tight. Early parts of the system are expected by 2026. A full defense grid might take until 2030. In fact, a memo from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth demands accelerated deployment. But behind the race, politics brew. Elon Musk now serves as a special government employee. His advisory role and inside access alarm lawmakers. Senator Jean Shaheen has already proposed new restrictions, while others fear conflicts of interest and unchecked influence. As the satellites rise, so do the stakes. The biggest space-based weapon system in the US history is taking shape. Will Musk and his Silicon Valley allies deliver what the nation needs, or are they promising more than they can reach?
And we end the week with Queen Bey. Beyonce may have gone country with her Cowboy Carter era, but it seems her fans aren't exactly lining up for it. With less than 2 weeks to go before opening night in Los Angeles, thousands of seats remain unsold, over 3,200 on the first night alone, and the resale tickets are dropping to as low as $35. Even her final show in New Jersey, added due to quote-unquote high demand, still has more than 5,500 tickets still available. So what went wrong with the tour that was supposed to be the next Renaissance? Here's more from what's happening on the ground.
The sweet sound of a pre-sale code dropping into your inbox. A digital love letter from your idol. Dreams of glittering arenas, cowboy hats, and Queen Bey herself singing country ballads just for you. What could possibly go wrong? Apparently, everything. Especially if you're among the thousands who paid top dollar for Beyoncé's Cowboy Carter tour, only to watch ticket prices nosedive faster than a lasso at a rodeo. It turns out Beyoncé's latest gamble, her big, bold country pivot, isn't quite galloping into arenas the way her team had hoped. With just days to go before the Cowboy concert kicks off in Los Angeles, tens of thousands of seats reportedly remain glaringly vacant on Ticketmaster's seating chart. According to reports, the opening night in Los Angeles still has over 3,000 unsold spots. Even more brutal, the final 2 nights in LA are looking equally desolate, with more than 3,800 seats up for grabs per show. And it's not like the East Coast is riding to the rescue. MetLife Stadium, Beyoncé's supposed victory lap in New Jersey, has more than 5,500 tickets still sitting unsold. Meanwhile, down in Atlanta, nearly half the floor seats, the very ones fans sold their dignity to afford, are still available. And over 5,800 tickets remain unsold. Yeehaw! But wait, the ticketing platform insists everything is just fine. They told in an interview that 94% of tickets are sold and even threw in a couple of new Vegas dates to spice things up. This is after the site crashed when the tickets went live for sale in February. But these numbers feel shaky, especially when fans on social media are posting receipts literally. One disgruntled fan account summed up the rage felt across the beehive. The account stated that next time Beyoncé sends a pre-sale code for a tour, it will be ignored. Another fan recorded a video showing just how many seats remain unsold. Resale tickets have plummeted to a reported measly $35. That's barely enough for a Beyoncé-branded tote bag. These prices are lower than the collective morale of the fans who shelled out hundreds for the privilege of being fleeced early. Even those who managed to secure tickets to her European shows aren't safe. Beyoncé's 6-night run in London is also wide open, largely unsold, and deeply disappointing. So, is there any place Beyoncé has been able to fill seats? Well, Queen Bey fans in Paris have not left any seat empty. And this isn't just one show, but reportedly all her 3 shows are booked fully. So, is there still hope? This crisis has hit Beyoncé after her Renaissance World Tour in 2023. Over 2.7 million tickets were sold then, with many failing to secure seats for the coveted concerts. After all, who wouldn't want to experience the concert of an artist who had won Album of the Year at the Grammys? So, what have we learned? That even Queen Bey isn't immune to a stadium standoff. Sure, Beyoncé might still rake in over $325 million, but for the heartbroken beehive, this tour is less Texas Hold'em and more Texas Folded.
That's our show for today. We certainly thank you so much for tuning in today and every day. We hope you have a great weekend, and we look forward to seeing you right back here next week.
Greeting you with aloha and namaste.
I love India.
Presence, occupation of a territory by another country pertains to India, what we saw in Kashmir.
How do you see Trump's America?
Yes, the current administration behaves differently from the previous administration.
Are you saying that there are foreign powers who are trying to bring down the current government in Syria?
Exactly.
Bluntly, Iran, maybe Russia too.
Prime Minister Modi committed to South-South, cooperation.
Not over 50%.
Is Ukraine prepared to pay the price for that peace?
No compromises at the cost of territorial integrity and sovereignty.